Welcome to this Zoom with Gabriel Jackson. Gabriel is a composer who is commissioned for the Three Choirs Festival in 2020, which now obviously is sadly not happening. The premiere is due to take place on Friday the 31st of July with the Philharmonia, conducted by David Hill and sung by Nick Pritchard and our wonderful festival chorus. But we have Gabriel with us here this evening, and we're just going to talk a little bit about his piece. I'm going to ask him a few questions. So, Gabriel, welcome.
Thank you very much. Very nice. This is my first Zoom thing of this night, so it's quite exciting.
Excellent. So, I'm going to ask you a few questions about your piece. To start us off, just tell us a little bit about the genesis of the piece. How did you come up with the idea for it? Why did you want to write for these forces? It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, I've been having concentrated on not entirely through my choice, but it's not been an unpleasant situation at all. But having concentrated very much on writing for choirs and voices in various shapes and forms, I have also increasingly been doing. I've done a few things in the last few years with some kind of instrumental ensembles or small orchestras and stuff. And that's a kind of nice expansion of that kind of activity into the slightly wider and bigger sort of, forces. And I thought it'd be really nice to do a big sort of full-on symphonic chorus kind of symphony orchestra thing. That just seemed to be, I thought something would be a really good thing for me to do. And so, and I think I kind of came to your lecture and said, do you fancy it? And I was very happy that you did.
Excellent. Yes, we're very pleased that we've got it as well. And actually, we do plan to postpone the premiere to 2021. So for anyone watching, you should be able to hear this premiere in the UK roughly this time next year, again in Worcester. So we're also hoping when we do finally manage to premiere it that we're going to have the same team as we're due to work on it this year. So David Hill and Nick Pritchard. Now, Gabriel, you've worked with both of them before, haven't you? So just tell us a little bit about your experience of working together and why you're happy that they're on this project.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've worked with David a lot when I was associate composer to the BBC Singers, and David was chief conductor. So we did an awful lot of stuff together, and so I have a kind of very good, I think, relationship with David. I really like working with David. He's incredibly. David's just incredibly gifted musically, full stop, and he's got incredible ears, and hears absolutely everything. So I'm really pleased that it's going to be still be David conducting. I think David's absolutely fantastic, and Nick also. I think Nick is great. We when I worked a passion for Merton College Oxford a few years ago. Nick was not the original scheduled tenor soloist, but he stepped in very late in the day when the original soloist had to pull out because of kind of personal family situation. And Nick learned it in about a week and did a fantastic job. And I love Nick's voice, and he's great to work with too. So it's a really good team.
Brilliant. And I know our audience really enjoyed hearing him last year. He sang with us a couple of times. So it's great that we're having him back.
Yeah, I think that's great. Really great.
Lovely. And so now you are not alone in being a composer who doesn't tend to get up in front of an orchestra and conduct them yourself. We were talking just before we press record about how 100 years ago at the festival, it would have been quite common to see a composer step up onto the podium and conduct the premiere themselves. So just tell us a little bit about, if you like, your conducting experience or not, and why you think it is that this has changed and why it's so rare these days to see a composer conducting.
I mean, people ask me quite often if I conduct or if I've ever conducted, and the answer is absolutely not ever. And the reason for that is, to be absolutely honest, I've worked with quite a few conductors over the years who are not very good, and I really don't want to add to that number. So I'm very, very happy to let people who know what they're doing conduct things rather than try and do it myself badly. But it is quite interesting, isn't it, that actually composers conducting their own work was much more normal 100 years ago. I mean, there were one or two people, I suppose, who do. I mean, people like Richard Baker, who's very good, and of course the late Ollie Nutton and stuff. I mean, were very good conductors, but I guess most composers don't conduct now. But it's an interesting question, isn't it? Is it because they can't, like me, they can't, or they think they can't? And they want to leave it to people who can. Or is it possibly the case that 100 years ago, when it was quite more normal, actually those composers who were conducting their own pieces actually did it quite badly? I mean, we don't necessarily know, do we? But I think it's perfectly possible that, I don't know whether it was kind of Herbert Howells or whoever, at the Three Choirs 100 years ago, I don't know, but may have actually been quite bad.
Maybe. And of course, we don't have the luxury, we didn't have the luxury 100 years ago of digital copies and digital printing. And I think it's probably quite often the case that pieces might have arrived so late that actually it was only the composer who had a hope of knowing what was in that score.
Well, that's quite a good point, actually, isn't it? I mean, I'm quite interested. Always been quite interested to discover how late, because I'm always getting told off by my publisher for being a bit late with things. How late some people kind of delivered stuff. I mean, I remember reading recently, I think it was about Whitlam St. Nicholas, and about how the orchestration and stuff and so the full score and the orchestral part stuff were only kind of finished like a few days before the premiere. Well, you can't do that now. I mean, you can't get away with that anymore, I think. And so that's quite a good point, actually. It may be that actually it wasn't time for anybody else to learn it.
Quite possibly. So obviously this is a choral work, and it's split into a number of movements, and we should say actually the title is The World Imagined. Obviously text plays a very important role in a piece for a chorus and singer. Just tell us a little bit about how you went about selecting the text. Is it hard to pick the ones that are right? Does it change in the course of writing a piece? And is there a common thread that pulls them all together?
It's my favourite bit of the process, actually, is looking for text, which is kind of far more enjoyable and to me than actually writing the piece. So I really like all that. And now, Google is very good. So I do have kind of poetry books and stuff off the shelf, and I do have a kind of file of text that I've come across on my computer over the years that I think, oh, that could be interesting, that could be useful for something in the future. So I've got that. But now I just kind of Google stuff around ideas, or words that I'm kind of thinking about would work. So one of the things was for this, for example, thinking about what kind of this might be about and what it might be, and what kind of things we're looking for was light and stuff. So I just do an awful lot of Googling of different things and kind of different kind of keywords and just looking at what there is, and then I kind of save all this stuff and I kind of put all this stuff together and have a look at it all, and all these things that I kind of, and sort of try and put them together and think, well, actually this would work and this could work and this if I do this, then there is some kind of progression through the piece. And I also particularly like pieces where you've got lots of text from different periods and some of those different languages, which we've got in this case. I mean, it's just English and one little bit of Latin, but there were quite widely different periods. There's a bit of medieval Latin. That's very, very short text. There's 20th century stuff. One is from Wallace Stevens. There's a kind of Sufi sort of, certainly kind of mystical character from I don't know, the medieval period, I think, in English translation. And there's 19th century stuff. So and I like that kind of huge spread of periods and therefore kind of styles of things. And I think, you know, if you can pull them together and create some kind of coherent thread, then it works really well.
Lovely.
And one other thing, actually, in terms of words that I really like, if you've got to have lots of different things, is actually different and similar things like different meters. And so that they're not all the same. So, you know, not just different lengths of text, but different styles of text. You know, that some might be kind of quite discursive, some might be quite terse and brief, and that all, I think, helps to make it hopefully more interesting.
Great. And if you, so obviously these different meters, different styles, they inform to some degree the music that you write and the music that you set. If someone's watching this and they don't know your music very well and they're thinking about coming to the premiere next year, how would you describe your music? What would you like people to hear in it?
Really good. No, I don't know. It's really difficult. Lots of lots of colour, lots of kind of quite vivid kind of musical images. I think the texts have all got quite vivid images in them, whether they're in the central part of the piece, which is to do with light, or also a more autumnal light, which the last poem of Wallace Stevens, you know, Light the First Light of Evening, is about. So hopefully lots of vivid gesture and vivid colour and nice, hopefully a good kind of trajectory through this 45-minute piece.
Brilliant. Well, as someone who
it's
has
quite loud at
music,
times, quite exciting.
Brilliant.
I hope.
Well, I can highly recommend that anyone watching goes and listens to some of Gabriel's music because it's fabulous and beautiful. So before we let you go, I'm going to ask you one more question. Now, we're pre-recording this, and at the moment our Three Choirs Premieres League is in full flow. By the time this goes out, we think we'll be nearing the end of the semi-final, possibly into the final. So whatever you say here, I'm afraid probably won't sway the jury. But if you could pick one of our premieres to win this competition, do you know what it would be?
Not Elgar. I know that's a terrible thing to say to a Three Choirs audience, but Howells, I think. Mrs. Abernethy's or Hymnus Paradisi. I think Hymnus Paradisi is a better piece, slightly, but I would like Mrs. Abernethy to win because I think it's a fantastic piece. It's really hard and nobody ever does it, and it deserves a bit more recognition. Fantastic new recording by David Hill, actually.
Indeed, there is.
Really, really good.
Brilliant. Well, Gabriel, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
We're really, really looking forward to hearing The World Imagined this time next year. Everyone watching should book tickets and be there.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. It's going to be great.
Thank you, Gabriel. Goodbye.
Thank you, Lexi. Take care. Bye.